It's
You're
mate. Okay.
not meeting them on an email, mate. You're meeting them on a Z. It's called
Now,
Zoom.
just to
Okay.
warn you all, I'm recording this from my end now, so
Love
if you've got
it.
anything
Love
controversial
it.
to say, probably wait
Ahmed,
until I hit
Ahmed,
stop.
you're a complete ass beaut.
Of course. Well, I've
Uh,
only got 40 minutes on this thing, so I might just kick it off and get straight into it if
yeah,
that's
kick
all right with
off, mate.
everybody.
Yep, recording on my end
Right.
too.
You're right, Emmanuel, Ahmed.
Good to go.
Right,
Good to go, mate. Hang on, let me do one last pick of the. No, I'm kidding.
Welcome to Quick Wisdom by Everyday Greatness, and thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Barnaby Howarth. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which this meeting is coming from, the Darug and Guringai people of the Eora Nation. I love being Australian, so I want to thank our Indigenous brothers and sisters for sharing their land with us. If the mystical superpower of people with disability is to block out the distracting white noise, the meaningless stuff that most people get consumed by in society, and just focus on what's important, then it's no wonder that my two guests today are superhumans. Brothers Ahmed and Emmanuel Kelly were born in Baghdad in Iraq and abandoned at an orphanage with severe disability. But Ahmed has won 2 silver medals for Australia at the Paralympics, and Emmanuel just finished opening for Coldplay on their Australian tour. Emmanuel and Ahmed have no right to live the life they're living. After being abandoned in Baghdad, they were adopted by a Melbourne woman, Moira Kelly, and grew up in Australia. Ahmed and Emmanuel have always just worked hard and been good to people. And when people have told them that their disabilities might get in the way of things they wanted to achieve, they just blocked out that ridiculous white noise and kept moving forwards. It's an absolute pleasure to say that Emmanuel and Ahmed Kelly join me now on Quick Wisdom. Ahmed and Emmanuel, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Mate, thanks for having us. I like how you say it's your pleasure. Truth is, it's not my pleasure. No, I'm kidding. It's an absolute pleasure for both of us to be on here as well, mate. I'm sure at least I speak for myself. Ahmed's got a mouth. He might be missing a couple hands, but at least he's got a mouth.
Well, I'm very grateful to be on your show, Barnaby. You're an amazing man yourself, so absolutely honored to be part of your show.
Oh, stop it. And just FYI, Emmanuel's stand-up comedy session is on every Wednesday night in London, so grab a ticket. It's pretty bloody good.
That's it.
Now, Emmanuel, let me start with you,
comedy,
mate.
though. Well,
just remind everybody about your story, about yours and Ahmed's story, how you left Iraq and how you ended up in Australia, and about your early childhood upbringing.
Yeah. First off, it's not stand-up comedy. It's more sit down, roll out comedy, and just roll me out, fall off the stage, and it's part of the comedy show. No, yes. The story is originally Ahmed and I were found in similar circumstances. I was told that I was found in a box in Iraq. And then taken to an orphanage where I was then raised there for the next sort of 7 to 8 years. It was also when I met Ahmed for the first time. And for the next Ahmed spent a lot longer than I did in that orphanage, probably a couple, maybe 2-3 years more than I did. But when I did come there, he kind of sort of took care of me. He was in many respects my minder. And also the mischief creator, because he was like a silent, deadly fart. He would just he would get me in trouble, and I would have to take all the slack. But no, it was definitely a time of war, or at least a time of post-war. And both Ahmed and I think in many respects every day kind of had hope that were rushing through our veins that day wouldn't be our last, even though it was in many respects safe because of what the nuns had created. At the end of the day, no country in the world that has experienced what Iraq had experienced and still experience is safe. And so around about the age of 7 or 8, both myself and Ahmed were brought out to Australia for multiple surgeries. I'll have Ahmed talk and speak more about that. In Iraq, music was a way of escape. So I would, both actually, Ahmed and I would create melodies and music to kind of allow ourselves to escape into a world that felt safer and felt happier. And we would create our own happy surroundings because that's what we needed to do. We'd only have about one meal a day. That was kind of our lives for those 7 years. And then this incredible woman, Moira Kelly, when I was around about 4, 5 years of age, Moira Kelly came to the orphanage, met both myself and my brother for the first time. And I remember getting told about this woman about 2, 3 days before by some nuns, and I sort of every day waited on the window ledge, waiting to see if this woman had arrived. And finally, on that third day, she did arrive. It wasn't during the day, unfortunately. It was at night. But we met her and we said g'day, and we had a whole experience. And at the end of that day, when Mum, well, the next day she came back, took us out for a day, and we got to experience Iraq for the first time. At least that's what I remember. It's a bit fadey, but I do remember sort of having a day where we kind of experienced a different kind of love for the first time. And at the end of that sort of experience with Auntie Moira, we called her, Ahmed asked her if she could help both of us, and she said she'll do her absolute best. And then he, in the kindness of his heart, who knew he had it? But he said, if you can't help Emmanuel and I, take me. Take me. Take Emmanuel, and maybe come back for me another time. But just take Emmanuel, sort him out. So the minute Mum heard that, she realised that she couldn't just take one of us. She had to take both of us. But also, what kind of came out of that was, I think, that the fact that love doesn't come from blood. It comes from where you feel safest and most at home. And so Ahmed kind of was the definition of the only thing thicker than blood is love, and his love and I suppose mindfulness towards somebody that's younger than him at such a young age, to have that kind of wisdom was pretty exceptional. Took her about 3-4 years. 2 years of full hard work, though, 2.5 years. And finally, we came out to Australia around 2000, November 2000. And I was about 7. Ahmed we thought was 9, but it turned out he was I think he was a bit older. Or was he a bit younger? I wasn't sure, but he ended up having the same age twice. 1 year on his birthday, when Mum came in and said, Ahmed, you're not actually turning 10 today. Or no, I think it was, you're not turning 11 today. You're only turning 10. He was a bit annoyed because I think he was going to start watching different kinds of movies at that point, like M-rated movies. Mum was going to allow him to watch some actions or something. Anyways, long story short, we did come out to Australia and we started pursuing our dreams, our goals, just things that we never knew could be possible. Me was music. The minute I found out that I could make money out of the entertainment industry, I became very driven towards that. Ahmed became very driven at just proving people wrong, starting with because I was the better swimmer. He now is the better swimmer. And I'm the better singer. So who knew? But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the short-winded version of the story. I'll hand over to the smarter brother. I'm just the better looking one. Well, actually, a lot of people have been telling me it's the other way around, which is annoying. And actually, I'm not that smart. He's just got both looks and brains, which is a little bit annoying because I always thought I had the looks. But anyways, Ahmed kind of looks like
Fabio.
better. No, Roger Federer. Call him Roger Federer. He looks like Roger.
No, definitely not. That's all right. But I mean, both Emmanuel and I have been very, very fortunate to have had the opportunity to come to Australia. And as Emmanuel mentioned, like we share many memories and stories of coming to Australia, and wouldn't have been able to do so without without mum and the incredible charity at the time, Children First, to come over to Australia. And the amount of people behind mum and the charity was, we'd be here all night if I had to mention everybody that was involved to, number one, have this charity set up and the foundation to help all these kids. But then mum was the driver of wanting to help kids, and everyone was there to support her dream of having kids support, having this better life. So very, very fortunate that Emmanuel and I were part of that. And yeah, I don't think we'd be here today if it wasn't for that journey. And more than happy to delve into it a bit more with you, Fine. So, but I'll throw it back to you to see if there's any direction you want to take this.
All right, thanks, mate. So let me ask you both then, growing up in Melbourne as kids with disability, how did you find that? Did you find your disabilities a factor in trying to work out what you could achieve in life? Or was it an open slather for you both?
I'll let Ahmed take the first step on this one. Mr. Kelly, or Roger, shall I say?
To be honest with you, growing up, from the moment that I remember being alive, I honestly didn't think there was anything wrong with me. I pursued life as best as I can with whatever was thrown at me, and really kind of whatever someone could do, I wanted to do it. And if they couldn't do it that good, I wanted to do it better. That's sort of the mentality I had, and never ever did I think that my disability was going to stop me from doing something. Yeah, at times it slowed me down, and that was frustrating. I'm not going to lie about that.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, I've learned to develop patience, persistence, and all those sort of things, because I knew if I stuck at it, I would get there. And I mean, it wasn't until, I guess, high performance days, which taught me that I need to do better, even better, and hold myself accountable, because I was up against athletes, also athletes with a disability, who wanted the same dream as me, to win a gold at the Paralympic Games.
Yeah.
So I needed to push myself and hold myself accountable to the standards that I wanted, what I believed would win a gold medal. And this sort of opened up a can of worms that sometimes that standard and expectation in a high performance setting, I was also sort of relaying that onto people that really didn't need it. And yeah, it was a bit rough, I must say. And I had to learn to say, these are the standards I put on myself. It's up to other people whether they want to do it or not. So it sort of taught me a few lessons along the way as well.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, Emmanuel, for most people, just talking to Chris Martin from Coldplay would be intimidating. You asked him, though, if you could open for Coldplay. Tell us about how that conversation went down.
Well, I didn't ask him. I told him. No, I did ask him after I butted him up and told him that, you know, it's important that when he's on stage that he has a younger, better looking person to open for him. I think it was very important that, you know, it wasn't just grandpa up there. No, we had a really good relationship. We built it from day one when I was first introduced to him through an extraordinary human in LA named Dr. Habib Sadeghi, who runs an organization, a non-profit of sorts, not so much a non-profit per se. It's more of a movement called Love Button Global Movement. And essentially their whole philosophy is just to spread love globally. And so one of the ways he thought would be amazing to spread that love is when he saw my video and saw actually a video of Ahmed swimming and saw a video of mum, he immediately thought, my goodness, these people should know Chris Martin. So immediately he reached out to mum and the family and said, hey, can we track down Emmanuel, your son? And she said, yeah, sure, he's in LA. What was funny and interesting was I was going through some stuff at that time as well. I'd just kind of gotten through a really dark point in my life where it led me to drugs and more alcohol than I should have been having, and every day my money was being spent on things that weren't benefiting my day-to-day mental health, physical health, and as well as my career health. And so I had just gotten through that dark period in my life, where I'd spent a week homeless. 3-4 of those days were on a park bench in Santa Monica, and the other days were just in a car that a mate of mine had given me, not knowing that I needed it to sleep in it. And so finally a friend of mine had given me an opportunity to sleep on his couch after I'd let go of all my vulnerabilities and let go of my pride, let go of of everything that I had. I still had too much pride to tell my family though, but I at least let go of the core of that pride and told some friends that I needed help. And they helped me. They got me on a couch, and I spent about a month on that couch before I decided that it was none of my business what anybody thought of me. It was only my business what I thought of myself. And if I think of myself so low that I'd allow myself to get this low, then I'm not in a good place and I need to find a way out. So I did. I found a way out through multiple different ways. And one of those ways was putting up a note on the mirror, like I did when I was about 12 years old, or I wrote it on the mirror when I was about 12 years old, just as I entered boarding school in Hamilton. And in that note, it was very simple, saying that I'm going to tour with the biggest rock band in the world. I'm going to find self-love. And so I put that on the wall again, on the mirror in this apartment. And for the next 3 to 6 months, I just said the same thing over and over and over and over again. And finally, I found direction. And when I found that direction, I connected with some people and said, hey, do you know Coldplay? Do you know Coldplay? And I kept walking down the street. I'd, go to the local bar. It was known to have celebrities that would walk in there, and I'd say, do you know Coldplay? I want to track down Coldplay. And eventually Coldplay tracked me down through my own family. But I'm a strong believer in manifestation. And I think if you believe in something so much and you're willing to go the distance, so much so that you're willing to be homeless, or at the very least lose every inch of your pride in order to achieve that success, then I think anything's possible. And so eventually I did connect with him. We performed together for the first time in Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. Unfortunately, my own brother couldn't be there. What was funny is my brother called me about, I reckon, a month before, when I had already known that I was going to perform with Coldplay. And he says, the Australian Paralympic community would like you to come the organization would like you to come and perform, or I recommended you to come and perform at our awards night. Do you want to come and perform? I said, mate, I would absolutely love to. What date is it? And he says, it's November or December something. And I said, mate, that's the night. I can't do it. And he goes, you can't do it? I'm helping you, man. Like, I'm giving you an opportunity. I said, yeah, I know, mate, but the reason you're being shafted is because I'm performing with Coldplay, but you can't tell mum. And so anyway, I performed with, and mum was so annoyed and so angry at me that I wasn't there for my brother and all this sort of stuff. And long story short, I ended up performing with Coldplay that night. And afterwards at sort of a pub we went to in Melbourne. I mean, it was everyone there. It was a weird but epic night. Shane Warne was there. It was extraordinary. And Chris and all these people all wanted to chat with Chris, and all these celebs were there, Aussie celebs and things like that. And Chris and I are under this doorway, archway in the middle of the pub, sitting down on the floor, bit sticky, I'm not going to lie, and just having a chat about life and what's next. And I said, mate, what's next is I want an album and I want to tour with you guys. I'm going to tour with you guys. And he goes, is that right? And I go, yep. And he goes, we can't do this tour, I don't think. I said, why is that? And he looks at me and he goes, do you have any songs? I said, no. I said, I had one song. And he looks at me and he goes, and that's why I'm not going to pay a crap ton of money for a bunch of covers. I said, fair enough. Long story short, we built a relationship. Around 2018, we started producing my album. And at the end of 2018, sort of mid 2019, the album was finished. End of 2019, start of 2020, I was getting ready to go on a tour with a bunch of amazing guests. COVID hit, tour was cancelled. And again, the difficulties of the world begun. But it gave me a chance to sort of reevaluate my life a little bit and pursue sort of a purpose in life. And I started pursuing that purpose. But then come 2022, Chris says, the tour is going to happen now, EK. It's going to happen around 2024. I said, amazing. I'm opening. Yes. He says, yes, you are. Great. And originally it was going to be Australia, New Zealand, and a couple spots in Asia as well, Middle East, etc. And then other things took over, being other parts of my life and career. And who knew? But I would have to push away from opening more shows than I probably was going to, which I never knew that I would be in a place where I would actually not pursue opening more shows with Coldplay. But what I did open was extraordinary. And obviously we did Melbourne, Sydney, New Zealand, and I think it was around 11 or 12 dates. And it was pretty awesome. You were there, mate. Ahmed was on stage a couple times. And then we had a spat and he didn't come to Sydney, but that's a story. I love you still, Ahmed. But now we're best buddies and we love each other.
That's a very cool story, mate. That's really cool. Now, Ahmed, let me ask you about your aspirations and your disability. Did you ever consider stopping competitive swimming because of your disability, or did that drive you on?
No, I never took up swimming because of my disability. That actually wasn't the reason why I started swimming as well. Swimming was basically had come because, or was in the sight, was and mainly because I had to give up the love of my life, which was Aussie rules footy. And that was a brutal decision to make. One that I wasn't really happy about.
Tell him the reason why. At one game, he kicks the ball, and instead of people saying ball, they were yelling out leg.
Do you guys want the facts, or do you want Emmanuel's story?
Just don't let the truth get in the way, mate. Tell us the story, but don't let the truth get in the way.
The fact is that I loved it, and yes, there were some interesting things that happened whilst playing footy, and that being what Emmanuel said, the leg. But that only happened at training; it never happened on a game day. But that's okay. Still, at training, it was quite interesting times. But I was really geared up to play Aussie rules footy at like senior footy for Kilmore Blues. Had an amazing group of boys, gentlemen today, and I knew what I had to do to get to that level, and I trained, and to a point, I think my good friend now, but also coach back then, Peter Dawson, he was really concerned of the impact that's going to have on my physical body in terms of my knees, because the legs aren't light to start with. They're not very light. I also had to to ensure that no incidents happen on game day, I had to put a silicone liner on one side of the leg, and then the other side would be on my own thighs, and then duct tape that around my thighs so that they wouldn't come off. But in doing so, it actually restricted the movement of my knees. So I wasn't able to bend 90 degrees. If I wanted to bend 90 degrees, I was only able to move only 20 degrees. So that restricted, but also they're the challenges, but it didn't matter because I got to play footy and I loved it. But they said, listen, put yourself in 50, 60 years, when you're 50 or 60 years of age, what's going to happen to your knees? What's going to happen to your body if you keep going down this line? I'm not really thinking that far ahead. I mean, I was in the moment. I was loving it and training so hard. But anyway, he said, long story short, Ahmed, I know you're going to give me all the facts of why you can. We could be here till the cows come home, really. And he knew me pretty well that was going to be the case. But I get to make the final decision. And he had my mum next to him as well. And they said, I don't want you to play, but I can offer you assistant coaching position. Yeah, it sounded glamorous and all that sort of stuff, but I still wanted to be involved in sport. I still thought I had a lot more to offer. I didn't know what it was. And then it wasn't until I said no to that, not knowing where I was going to go. But then a few months later, Paralympic Australia had this talent identification days that they were running. And one of them happened to be in Craigieburn. And I tried out all the different sports, did really well in the athletics department. And then I was quickly told that, again, that would be challenging, but I didn't care. I was willing to take it, but also I was a little bit worried because I was going to be dwelling too much about footy. It was quite raw. It was still quite raw. I did cycling and again hit the right numbers to join the cycling team and all that. But I wasn't really that passionate about it. And swimming, sort of felt like I could do really well in, even though I was terrible, absolutely terrible. But I could see myself getting better and better. And the other thing that happened is I had a good friend of mine. Well, we weren't that good friends, but over time we became good friends because of the swimming. She was an incredible swimmer, and I thought it'd be a great way for us to connect and have the friendship. And so I guess I have swimming to thank with a number of friendships that I've been able to do well in, and meet lots of people, do what I love, but also be around people I really like as well, and getting to develop friendship. And for many years, I've still kept in contact with those who have helped me from the very start of my swimming career. And that's the way I like it. And if I wasn't connected with someone who helped me along the journey, I'd work really hard to make sure we were still connected. I'm just grateful for the opportunities that they allowed me to have so that I can pursue my swim. But it wasn't because of my disability, no. And again, I go back to my very, very early comment as saying, I honestly do not feel like there was anything wrong with me. I went about life as if there's nothing wrong with me, gave everything a crack. And at times people would say I couldn't do it. And as Emmanuel just mentioned, I wanted to prove them wrong, but I could do it and do it really, really well. So I never use my disability as an excuse. And listen, Barnes, I fully commend you as well. Like, I watched you in your prime days as a footy player, and I admired your approach to it. And after what had happened to you, it was, I guess, a shocking thing to hear. But look at you today, like, you not for one second do you think, well, this is crap. Look at what you're doing today, connecting myself, my brother, and a lot of people to share their stories, so that other people who might be listening can be inspired and go on to do great things for themselves. So I fully commend you. And this is exactly what I want to be able to do, show people that if you really put your mind to it and if you really want to do it, you can do it. And if you have the right people around you, you're always going to have the naysayers, and that should be what inspires you to prove them wrong, and do the things that you love.
That's really humbling, mate. Thank you so much. That's really kind of you to say. Now,
I mean
speaking
every
of
word of it.
inspiring people, so with your disabilities, Emmanuel, you've opened for Coldplay. Ahmed, you've won 2 silver medals at the Paralympics. Do you guys think you have something tangible that other people don't that makes you successful? Or do you just block out the crap that doesn't mean anything and keep moving forward as best you can?
I think so. Ahmed also was being a little humble, and so are you, Barnaby. You two were absolute freaks in your heydays when it came to the sports. Ahmed was a freak at football, and frankly, it would have been terrifying to see him with arms and legs because I think you had, I think you would have had freaking, you know, Paddy Cripps running for cover, to be honest. And Ahmed could be up on that Brownlow stage today. And Barnaby, you were special as well, mate. Like, that's the reality. You could have had Errol Goulden, you know, freaking asking questions. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to having limitations and being an outlier and just being different, at the end of the day, you're in charge and you're the boss of what your limitations are. You control those limitations, right? The human brain, the human body, what we are capable of, our entire energy source and force that's inside of us is unimaginable. I mean, to imagine that we have more neurons in our brains than stars in the galaxy, in our own galaxy, that alone should be enough to say, holy crap, we are species, and as people, and we have so much resilience, just like the universe has enormous amounts of resilience, or God, or whatever you believe in. We have enormous amounts, and you know, as science and as science grows and as technology grows, it's proven every day how much power and resilience a human being has. And so for me, it didn't come till far later in my life that I realized that I had this inside of me. However, everybody needs something or someone to give them that boost, to almost, you know, to give them that nitros, right? Like in a car, you have that kind of boost to show capacity. Yeah, to have that, to show that full capacity of what you're capable of. For both, I don't know. I would assume it's also for my brother as well, but certainly it was mum for us, and it was the kids in our house, and how we grew up, and just an example of that sort of being raised with that kind of tough love mentality, whilst also being loved, and just feeling safe, and having just an incredible support system surrounding us, from not just mum, but the volunteers, from people beyond just volunteers, from extended family, like the Ray and Marg Mileses, and their family, and your family, Barnaby, and things like that, and Ahmed as well, having his system for both of us. That was like the extra boost in the car, right? It was we became we came to Australia with a V2, if there's any such thing. Probably is, right? And now we have a V16 electric engine inside of us, right? That's more quicker and has a faster takeoff than we could have possibly imagined, and it just continues to grow. And so that's where it starts, though. That's where it begins. It begins with that early base, and for us, it was my mum, and that example that I was talking about was, I think I was I would have been maybe about 10 or 11, I reckon, Ahmed, and you would have been like 13, 14. And we had a kid, can't remember who it was, but it was a kid with a heart condition, and they weren't going to live for very long. And they were, they weren't going to live. They were probably going to live maybe another 3 months if they didn't have surgery, maybe 6 months max. I remember me complaining about something one day as I I did as a kid. Usually it was because Ahmed got me in trouble, but anyways, that's another story. But I was complaining as a kid, and mum turns around and she says, "What are you complaining about? Yes, you may be missing arms and legs and all that sort of stuff, but at least you have a heart and you're going to live." Right. And vice versa to Ahmed, I reckon on a bunch of occasions, she would have said it to him. But then what was even more nuts was about 2 days later, or maybe even less, that same this kid that she was comparing, that she was saying to me, "What are you complaining about? That kid's going to die." She goes to that kid and says, "What are you complaining about? Yeah, you might die in 3 to 6 months, but Ahmed and Emmanuel, they got no arms and legs. They can't reach high shit. At least you can reach stuff." I said, "Mum, that ain't a comparison." But what it did teach us was resilience. It taught us that no matter what the circumstances was, there was always a way out. And even if there wasn't a way out, there was a way to at least find the peace inside of you to recognize that you are great. You are awesome, but you have enormous amounts of improvement always in your life. So don't be afraid to continue being the best version of yourself and to continue trying to be the best version of yourself. At the end of the day, I'm never going to die, but I will say this just for the statement. I believe in technology. I'm telling you, I'm going to live forever. Ahmed, you'd want to live forever too. I mean, this world is amazing. Let's be real. But put that aside, I think the reality is in life, I think it's better to die trying, but recognizing that no matter how much you've tried, at least you've gone and done it, right? And die with that kind of mentality than not giving a shot, than just giving up and not giving it a shot at least once, right? I'm not saying you have to continue to strive for that thing you want for the rest of your life. There's probably a time where you got to say, you know what, I might have to get a job that pays me and pays the bills. But even in that circumstance, you could still continue trying and make it a side hobby, and maybe one day it becomes your full-time gig, right? Whatever it is you choose to go about in your life to do. And there are people in our lives that have served as mentors of that, and one of which are you, Barnaby, and yourself. But also for me, when it comes to the business side, and for me, as I always tell people this, even here in London, in the US, and Ray, I'm not saying this because you're on the line. I genuinely do mean this. But I always use Ray as a perfect example for me to continue from a business perspective, and people that I've learned from, and no matter how many times the business world knocks you out, which it's knocked Ray out a few times, but he's always gotten back up and made something pretty magical in his life. So and with his career. So for me, it's finding those people in your life that you can just use as a power source. I'll hand it over to Ahmed, but that's what I do at least.
Mate, you should give up playing for Coldplay. Stop your music career. Go and be a mentor. Go and talk in schools. That was sensational. Thanks, mate. Now,
Thanks,
Ahmed, you talked before about wanting to inspire people with your words and pass on inspiration from your life story. Fire away, mate. The floor's all yours.
Thanks, Barnaby. I mean, yeah, I'm very grateful to have had this journey. And I talked to many kids at their school just to educate them about the things that they can achieve if they really set their mind to. So it's been a great journey to do that, or a great opportunity to be able to do that. Lots of different schools would approach me, and I've really enjoyed that because, yeah, it's about what I could give them one or two pointers to help them shape their life, then I've done a good job. So, I mean, yeah, without reiterating everything that I've just said, I am very, very fortunate to be able to just share my story, share my experiences, my mistakes, my failures, but also my successes throughout my life. So, and I'm not perfect. I'm not going to go out there preaching that I am the perfect person. I do make mistakes. I have failed, and that's not just in sporting sense, in life as well. And that's what makes us humans. If we make mistakes, we fail, but we learn from them, and it's when we can learn from those, that's when we can make the next leap. And that's what I always try and do, is be the better version. And yeah, at times I'll get pulled up, like a parking fine or so, in that sense.
You're such a rebel.
Metaphorically, but in terms of like people, I see people giving me criticism as a parking fine, and I love that. And that's what makes me a better person, is when they can say, "Hey, Ahmed, we wish you could have done this better," and I love that. So and it just grounds me even more. And my mum will do that, my family will do that, my friends will do that, and I'm very, very blessed.
You're such a bad boy, Ahmed. You got a parking fine. Emmanuel and Ahmed Kelly, I want to thank you both so much. It's been a real privilege and a pleasure speaking to you both. Emmanuel, thanks for making the time from London. And Ahmed, thank you for making the time in Canberra. Thank you guys all for joining us as well on the Zoom call. Yes. Thank you to the ARA Group for being our major sponsor for the 9th year in a row. Thank you all for watching. And I hope you can join us next week, where we'll continue this series about how to move forward with disability. But once again, Emmanuel and Ahmed, I feel really grateful to have you guys on. So thank you again for joining me.
Of course.
Thank you, Barnaby.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate you.
Now we'll just stop recording. Are you guys all right to stick around for a second to take some questions if anyone's got them?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
All right, fire away, guys. That was easy.
It's it's Kaz here. And yeah, I wanted to say to you both, I was riveted really to the screen. But what's next? Do you have, like, to both of you, like, do you have any big goals that are coming up that you're really driven to achieve? Or
Mr. Kelly, you first.
Yeah. Good question. It's